Lieutenant Shax learned his great arm wrestling form from strangling Cardassians. In another dimension, Captain Freeman ended up on Starbase 80, and sometimes Boimler's nostrils look aggressively flared. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of It's Back, Star Trek Lower Deck Season 5, Episode 1, entitled Dos Cerritos, written by Aaron Burdett, directed by our pal, Meg Lloyd. And, special thanks to Greg Badger for sponsoring this episode. Thank you very much, Greg Badger. We really appreciate you. How you doing today, Sirach?
Great. I'm doing great.
Awesome.
How about you?
Pretty good. It's like a visit from an old friend. You know what I mean? It's like that frenetic pace of taking an hour to watch a 25-minute episode because there's just so much going on, and I kept having to rewind, and I kept having to go back, and I caught so many things. But before I get into all those things, I just kind of want to see like Sirach, like, what'd you feel on it overall? What was your feeling?
Well, overall, I like this show, and I was happy to get back into the vibe with the show. For me, the energy, the pace, the characters, I've kind of grown fond of them all, and watching them come back on this season 5 felt great again. It just felt, it felt like more of the stuff that I really like. So, this episode really kind of moved quickly. It was a great story. I just like this show.
Yeah. I can't help it. I just want to get in all the funny Easter eggs, even though I know we should save those. But, this show is a lot of fun. One thing I did enjoy, God, there's so much to talk about. One thing I did enjoy was that each actor got to play 2 characters, or most of them did. And, the one that really stood out to me was Tawny Newsome doing 2 versions of Mariner, because she didn't just change up, like the writing was different, but she changed up her tone and her cadence. And the voice sounded different. It was still recognizable as Tawny Newsome, but I really liked how she kind of T'Lyn, she said something different, but it's the same person, right? And Rutherford was Otherford, which was funny, but Tawny got to kind of stretch out the character a little bit and kind of use a different voice almost. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I am so impressed with Tawny that it's unbelievable. As a voice actor, she is able to lead this show.
Yeah.
Have the level of, stay in character with the kind of aloof, free will, just spirit that she has as a character. But then we see that she's able to play it differently. And this was an example of how, if she chose to in the beginning, or if it was written, the character was written in such a way, she could have played this Mariner character in the way that she played this episode, which shows you for me, it shows me the range that she has as an actor. It's not one dimensional. She's able to deliver whatever the script requires. And I feel like she emphasizes on those points as well as any person can, as far as what they're trying to get across comedically with the timing, with the voice. She blows me away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something where, like, sometimes, people that don't know much about the business, or even people that do, might not know or might forget just how talented voice actors are. I mean, I know it's easy for voice actors to be passed up because we're not seeing their faces, and somebody that doesn't know much about the business might be like, well, they're just sitting at a desk with a microphone reading lines. But they should try it. They should try it sometime, and you'll see that it really does not come through the screen. It's actually twice as hard in a lot of ways, because you have to emote everything with just your voice. You can't even do this, what I was just doing. You
Right.
can't open your eyes and do this to express how big this is. It has to all come out in their voice. And sometimes that means they're literally throwing themselves over one side or the other, or they're banging their hands around without making the noise, because they have to create that feeling with just their voice. And just to echo what you're saying, Tawny, man, is she a pro at this. And, it takes a while to really sink in and appreciate this, but I just wanted to point that out. Yeah.
I mean, and the evidence of that to me was in the scene where she talks to herself. So she's basically playing both
Yeah.
sides of the coin, right? She's talking to herself, but it's as if there's a conversation between two characters, because she's playing it differently on both sides of the character. So when she says to the one person, I mean to the other mariner, which was, I wish they gave a cool nickname for. Would have been nice to see, because they had some really good nicknames. I liked, for example, Utherford was
Yeah.
hilarious. Handsome instead of ransom, and those kinds of wordplays were great. Um, but no, when she's in the scene and she says, "Hi, Becky Mariner," or Becky, like, I don't even know how you live with that name. And then she goes back on to her and she says, "Oh yeah, I could totally change my name and use my middle name and be like embarrassed." And she's like, okay, you got me. All right. Like, it was her calling herself out,
Hmm.
and she expressed it in the voice, in the tone, and the sarcasm and the "you got me" moments. All of those are just spot on in her voice acting.
Yeah. No, and obviously, handsome instead of ransom. Like, the writing was actually really brilliant in this episode too.
I
Like,
thought so.
so many times they do something new that I'm just like, wow, this is great. Or it's a spin on something old, or it's super meta. Because how many times have we done, like in Star Trek, like the alternate universe or the mirror universe or the past universe or something like that? But this is obviously funny because they were all slightly different. Their uniforms were slightly darker. Talin said
Yeah.
remarkable instead of fascinating.
Yeah.
What's his name? Ransom had a mullet.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was all good stuff. Did we see?
It, yeah.
We didn't see Miglimo, I don't think, but we saw Dr. Ta'ana. I was trying to see the difference with her, but not really, just the darker jacket.
Yeah, not much different, but this show does such a good job of playing on the Star Trek trope. So this, we've seen mirror universes before, but we haven't seen them where they're like, I don't know, it's almost identical to you, but slightly different. I don't know. This was a great kind of mirror episode. And then the thing she says, I mean, back to Mariner, her delivery. She says, "Oh, another interdimensional wormhole." It's like I'm so tired of dealing with these things, like, again. And it's again in the world of Star Trek, but not necessarily in Lower Decks episodes. But it's funny how they play with the words like that. I thought this episode, again, like, repeating what you said, echoing that, is the how well it was written. They did the whole 30 under 30 Starfleet publication where it was
Yeah.
like the,
Fleet.
yeah, Fleet magazine,
Yeah.
all of those little inserts to me really make this show well thought out and executed.
Yeah. And let's get into some of these Easter eggs real quick. Number
Okay.
one, in the opening scene, first of all, in the opening scene, did you notice there was a Horgon statue in the background? It was kind of tough to catch, but there was a Horgon. You caught that, great.
Yeah.
So the other big thing was, did you understand what they were referencing? Because there was one guy, and sometimes you kind of have to watch Star Trek a bunch of times, but do you remember that episode that we reviewed of The Next Generation with Kivas Fajo? And it was called The Most Toys, and he
Mm-hmm.
collected data as a
Mm-hmm.
toy. That's one. So one of those characters that was there was like a secondary character. Here was Kivas Fajo. You'll remember this
I do
guy. That
remember.
actor was amazing.
He was fantastic. Yeah.
But if you'll recall, there was a secondary character that just showed up for like one scene, and he looked really interesting, and he was really good, and we're like, why did he only show up for 1 minute? They did all this elaborate makeup for just a 1 minute scene. Well, he was the main bad guy in that opening sequence, right? And that's this guy who's back here picking his nose and got this thing. And remember, the Orion girl was like trying to rip this thing off of his nose and rip it out. Now, obviously, the who knows what this thing's for? I thought it was a piece of jewelry, but of course, Lower Decks can never keep it just straight up. They got to be super funny. And so he says, it's prescription.
Yeah, prescription.
What prescription do you need for this piece of jewelry in his nose? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a nostril ventilating, oscillating something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's where that character. I knew that character was familiar because it had the same as kind of feel for it as that Faggio character, where it was like the collector of things, right? The guy who collects different things. So yeah, right away that did feel familiar. I didn't recognize that image that you just showed, but now it all comes together, kind of makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that was really cool. That was really fun to see. But let's take a super quick break.
It's prescription.
Yeah. Well, actually, we got a couple minutes here. So this guy, I'll pull him up again here. This was the whole opening scene, and he kind of had like, I'll pull him up again. I don't know why it's so funny, but it is. Because you and I, we were talking about in our review where we're like, look at all
he had
of
3
this
nostrils,
makeup.
right?
Yeah, he had 3 nostrils. Plus, he's got maybe 2 bonus ones on his forehead. He's got this thing. I mean, like, they spent so much time. And I wonder if maybe he was going to have like a bigger scene or a bigger part or something like that. But no, like they had this guy sitting in makeup for 4 hours. And then he delivers like 3 lines. And that was it. So I'm so glad that they brought this guy back, or at least somebody like him, so that we could actually get a little bit more of this juicy morsel of a character.
Which just goes to speak to the writing of this show. What Mike McMahon has accomplished, but with this show, it is an homage to Star Trek in one of the most comical ways possible. Tawny is an excellent leader of this, of setting the tempo and the tone. Love also Boimler as well. I mean, Boimler's character is also, a co-star on this, but these guys are just doing a great job. I think this episode started off this season with a bang. I thought it was like, oh, this is good. I can watch more of this. This is what I've been missing out on.
Yeah, and it is the final season theoretically. Although I will say that Dawn Lewis quickly corrected me when I said it was the final season. She said, no, it's not the final season. It's the 5th season. And I prefer that answer too. Obviously, that's a much better way of looking at it. It's the 5th season. It's the final season on Paramount Plus. Doesn't necessarily mean that it won't go to Netflix or to whatever else or to whomever else, or that they won't have a movie or video games or all kinds of stuff. So
yeah,
most people are treating it like the final season, but we all know that door's still hopefully open for more things. But let's take that quick break that we teased a little bit ago. Let's pay our dues and take that break, and we'll talk more on this. We'll be right back on the 7th rule. Oh, and I haven't even explained what's going on back here.
Yeah, I was my mind was spinning with questions about those characters right there.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited about it. We'll be right back on the 7th rule. Welcome back to the 7th rule with Sirach, the game changer Lofton.
Yeah, hello.
Here are the trivioids of the week. There weren't very many because this show packs so much information. I can't keep up. I can't type everything. I try. Here they are. Boimler's issue of Fleet is out. Sometimes Boimler's nostrils look aggressively flared. The Cerritos encounters The the third quantum fissure this month. Lieutenant Shax learned his great arm wrestling form from strangling Cardassians, and in another dimension, Captain Freeman ended up in Starbase 80.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to visit that group again, find out what the deal is there. But so now we got these guys, right? And when those Orion girls saw them, they said, "Oh no, blue Orions," right?
Yeah,
And then
right.
when these guys saw them, they said, "Oh no, green Orions." Okay. So here's why this is so weird and hilarious and funny. This is from an animated series episode from whatever that was, 1973. There was an episode of the animated series, and they said, "Oh no, here are the Orions." And there was just this race. And I know I, and probably just about everybody else, were like, "Don't you mean Orions?" Like it was spelled the same, Orions, Orions. And they're kind of bluish instead of greenish, but we're like, is this supposed to be the same? I still to this day don't know what the story is, but I'm sure there's a story where it's like they were going to be Orions, but they're just like and they're called Orions. So are they the same race? Are they different? I don't know, but that's the weird thing that was there. Maybe there is something to be found.
Yeah. You say tomato, I say tomato. You say Orion, I say Orion. That's funny. It definitely, even the way they're dressed in this episode and the way they're characterized is like you could tell they're dressed in the old animated style of cartoon outfits. It looks retro. The
Yeah.
Orions.
Yeah. And okay, so I'm checking right now. That episode was actually called "The Pirates of Orion." It was the first episode of season 2 of the animated series. The animated series only had 6 episodes in the second season, and
Okay.
this Wikipedia is assuming that these are regular Orions because it says the episode featured the first appearance of male members of the Orion species in the Star Trek. It wouldn't say that if they were just being introduced. So these are clearly Orions, but they pronounce it differently and they're blue and it makes no sense. And my brain doesn't understand how to work around this, but that's the story, I guess.
Maybe they're Bolians pretending to be Orions.
Yeah, I want to know. We got to ask Larry Nemechek. So anyway, it's such a deep cut and it's such a Star Trek fan thing to do for them to like kind of poke fun at this weird, confusing, unknown. But yeah, we got to ask Dr. Trek Larry Nemechek. He'll know what the situation, or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll be like, it's one of the great mysteries. Nobody knows.
Or maybe they didn't have pronunciation guides back then, and no one knew how to pronounce it right. So I don't know. It's that's funny though because they were definitely playing off of each other. Those two. That was another like storyline there, which was okay for me. I was more involved with the switching of the crew storyline. The whole pirate storyline was okay for me as a B plot or A plot, I guess, but more of a B plot to me.
Yeah.
But I did like that the A plot with Rutherford and Rutherford pining over Tendi was great. That whole scene where he hugs himself and the third hand comes out and just does an extra part of that hug.
To pat his back.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That was hilarious to me. So
I pictured the script there. I was wondering, like, was that an artist's choice, a director's choice, storyboard choice, or was that I bet you it was in the script. I bet you it was like they hug, Rutherford's other arm reaches out and pats him on the back. That was terrific. Another thing that was really fun was where to go, just like all the interplay between the two of each character,
Yeah.
like Ransom was mad. He's like, "You sexy bastard," and the other guy's like, "You steamy hunk," when they're fighting over the
Yes.
seat. And what was the other one? Oh, Talin with the remarkable and fascinating. I thought that was brilliant
That was brilliant.
because they both said remarkable, fascinating at the same time, and they're like, "Did you just say remarkable?" And she's like, "Yeah." "Did you just say fascinating or whatever it was?" And she
Yeah.
said remarkable. She says fascinating. I don't know why, but these are such like deep cuts for deep Star Trek fans that
Yeah.
it really worked. I liked it.
I liked it too. I also liked Billup's character pining over himself. He finally has somebody that he can look at that he likes more than himself.
Yeah. And it was King Billups, because
King
in
Billups.
like maybe I think like a third season episode, he was turning into like royalty, or there was a weird storyline where he became royalty. So that was kind of fun. That was a nice little nod to that episode.
Yeah. Love goatee Boimler. He reminded me of Jonathan Frakes.
Yep.
He played it kind of like, with the confidence of Jonathan Frakes. I got Frakes vibes when he was, at least what he was trying to channel.
Yes.
That was hilarious to me. And actually, the line that he says to him, he says, Boimler talking to the goatee Boimler, he says, "Real quick, run me through every decision that you ever made."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I just want to be like you so bad.
And you'll notice when Handsome gave him the captain's chair, he said, "Hey, you've got you're acting captain." Boimler did a reverse Riker maneuver. Like, I watched it like three times.
Yeah.
Riker does the maneuver where he like straddles the chair, but Boimler did
Yeah.
the reverse straddle to get out of the seat. That was adorable. That was a good nod.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this stuff had so many things. There was a moment there, for example, when the incoming message was coming from that one Cerritos to the other, and evil Mariner was on board Cerritos and kind of saw the message, incoming message, and she did a swipe right.
Yes. That was so fun. I was like, we've never seen a swipe before.
That we never seen a swipe. I've never seen a swipe. And
That
that
was
was like one
good.
of those moments like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. I thought that was hilarious. That was like a nod to today's technology being applied into the Star Trek moment, because we've never seen the swiping and stuff like that. That was hilarious
Right.
to me.
So here were a couple funny things. One was when Tendi shows up, or reveals herself to the bad guys, and she says, "I'm mistress of the winter constellations." And then the dude was like, "Am I supposed to know what that is?" Like, she says it
Yeah.
like, "Oh boy, you better watch out." And he's like, "I don't know what
Yeah.
that," so I
Right.
thought that was cool.
Yes.
I also liked it when Otherford said, "I'm not here to make friends." And he pushes the button and he goes, "I am here to make friends."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like the moment, for example, when uh evil Mariner comes in and she says, "What in that Kazon F is going on?" I mean, they throw around F bombs in this show too, even though they bleep them
I
out. They're
missed the
hilarious.
Kazon reference. That's cool.
Yeah, the two Kazons were fighting each other when she walked back into the room, and
Oh,
everybody was.
Kazinti. Yeah,
Yes.
the cats. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, dude. And that's a cool character too that we've seen a few times only. These weird shaggy cats, Kazinti, that
Yeah.
kind of come out. They're also from the animated series too. They're animated series guys. So
Yeah.
I thought Carol Freeman was going to be dead, but it turns out she's just at Starbase 80. Hopefully, we'll find out more about that. Um,
Yeah. I don't know if we'll visit this crew again. We should, because I thought that it was a great story. As a matter of fact, there was a part of me that thought they were going to do some serialization in this episode when they left Mariner aboard the alternate reality ship. I thought they were
yes.
setting up a serialized where we have to figure out how they're going to get back to each other. Mariner will have a storyline on the other ship. Evil Mariner will be trying to fit in on this ship. I thought, oh, this could be possibly be a whole season arcing type of story that we're watching, even though they backed out of it.
I think that they're gonna I think that they're gonna revisit this thing, because otherwise, why would they say that that Freeman was at Starbase 80, which piqued everybody's interest, if they just like let it die? I feel like we're gonna see it again. But
Would be nice.
anyway, it's a great start to an exciting season. I'm really looking forward to it. I feel like we just flew through this review because we're just like, we had so much stuff to talk about, and we went blah.
Yeah.
Threw it all out.
Yeah. Because the episode is like that. It just goes all, so much information. It just boom, 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 boom. One graphic image that I liked visually was the Cerritos upside down
Yeah.
on top of the other Cerritos. It was just like a kind of a cool visual. I don't know why I liked it so much.
Me too, where there was kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The opening shot reminded me of how beautiful their artistry is. The opening shot, like outside the Cerritos, like in space, I was like, wow, it's beautiful. It doesn't look like somebody's just drawing stuff. You know what I mean? It looks like just a beautiful VFX shot.
I agree. So there was a lot of just nice, cool little inserts here. I noticed that Mariner in the opening scene was playing like a game of Jenga.
Yeah.
It was like a Star Trek
with
version of that with those sticks. I thought that was a little insert.
I've seen that before in another episode, and I couldn't place it. So everybody in the live chat and in the comments below, let us know what episode was that. Maybe it was more than one episode. Maybe it was Deep Space Nine. I don't remember, or Next Generation, but I feel like I've seen those sticks, those pickup sticks kind of Jenga thing. Anyway,
knowing these guys, I'm pretty sure they borrowed it from somewhere, because they're on it. They are
totally.
Yeah.
Well, you know who else is on it? Our friends, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom, TJ Jackson out in Missouri, Titus Muller, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, My Life from Tokyo, The Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manosfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Sternett, Dylan Powell, Peter Draymore, Chris Garris, and of course, Jason M. Oken and Greg K. Wickstrom. That was done in Lower Deck style, kind of.
Yeah.
All right. So much more, so many more episodes to review, and we're going to love every second of it as if it's our last, because it might be. Good stuff. All right, everybody.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Keep the conversation going in the comments below, and we will catch you next time. And until then, live long and prosper, Lower Decks, Mike McMahon, Tawny Newsom and company.
Yeah.
Always remember the seventh rule.
Shout out to Meg Lloyd, too.
Oh, yes. Our buddy Meg Lloyd. We didn't even cover her. Well, well, hopefully we'll get her on the show, right?
Yeah, she killed it. She killed it this episode. Awesome job.
See ya.